Hello and welcome to Das German Kritic. Well, hey, außer mir macht's ja keiner. And today we're going to take a look at another girly flick in our lineup of children's movies. However, this movie won't be as unbearable as the last one. Hanni und Nanni, St. Clair's in English, are the creation of British children's author Enyd Blighton and have appeared in many volumes since 1941, as well as in anime form since 1991. And since remaking classic children's cartoons specifically, and anything that's 30 years old in general, someone somewhere decided to thrust two twins from the 40s into the modern world of 2010. So, did it work? Well, let's find out. This is Hanni und Nanni. The film begins with Hanni, played by Sophie Müller, playing street hockey through Berlin, which is, in fact, a race to a department store where her twin sister Nanni, played by Jana Müller, as well as their friend Octavia, played by Emilie Kundrun, are waiting for her. And right off the bat, I have no issues with this movie. Actually, quite the opposite. The music is upbeat, it fits the opening scene, the opening race to the department store fine, and everything beyond this point can only be better. Which is more than I can say for the last thing we had to look at. The twins thus want to exit the store when the alarm goes off. This is due to the fact that Octavia isn't the bestest friend ever and secretly stuffed a shirt into Hanni's bag. But that's not the twins' biggest problem. Oh, no. They have to deal with something that is way worse than that. Oliver Pocher. Okay, so here's the deal. We all know the stereotype of the unfunny German. If there was one person I would point out as to why this stereotype exists, it's that motherfucker. This guy's career started sometime in the early 2000s, and since then, he has somehow worked his way up to something that can't even be described as famous. A few B-list roles here, and a few B-list roles there, and being the lackey of a late-night legend, Harald Schmidt. Fact is, Pocher has absolutely no reason to be in this movie. I mean, really, this part could have been played by an extra and it would not have made any fucking difference. Moving on. Cut to the twins' school where we're introduced to their parents. Their mother, Eula Sullivan, played by Anja Kling, and their father, George Sullivan, played by Heino Ferch for some reason. Now don't get me wrong, Ferch is not a bad actor, far from it. If I had to make a top 10 actors list, he would definitely be in it. But fact is, Ferch isn't well known for playing over-the-top comedic roles such as this, but more historical drama. I'm totally serious. Name any historical drama that came out since, let's say, 2000, and chances are Ferch is in it. The two are there to talk about their daughter's shoplifting, which the principal, played by Joram Vöglein, deems it necessary to expel the twins for. Now, I do realize that this is essentially just a cultural transfer from British culture into German culture, you know, like they keep the name Sullivan, but can principals in the UK really do this? I mean, can they actually suspend or kick out students for something that didn't even happen on school grounds? Is that doable? Now, sure, the principal does make a passing remark about the twins' grade slipping, but expel them? Well, on the other hand, if he didn't, we wouldn't have a movie. Their mother suggests sending them to a boarding school called Lindenhof, St. Clair's in the original UK version. In order to sway them, she calls it a special place where magical things happen. And of course, the girls bail immediately. But it's of no use, and they get taken to Lindenhof anyway. The family arrives during a stormy night, which is probably a visualization of the impression the two have of the place. In the dark, mysterious lobby, we're introduced to Frau Megalein, played by Susanne von Borsody, the school's strict gym and math teacher who takes the twins' suitcases before they say goodbye to their parents. The next day, per their request, Hanni and Nanni are shown the local hockey team, and yeah, let's just say it looks more like ass rather than class. I mean, we already had ass in one scene, so I reckon that it can only go to class from here on. Cut to lunch, where three important things happen. Firstly, we're introduced to Hanni and Nanni's future classmates. Of special note here are Linda, the leader of the hockey team, played by Davina Schmidt, Katrin, played by Ricarda Zimmerer, as well as Suse, played by Lisa Vicari, whom some of you may remember in her role as Leonie in Tim Fehlbaum's Hell. Secondly, we are, at least formally, introduced to the headmistress Frau Theobald, played by Hannelore Elsner, as well as Mademoiselle Berthoud, played by Katharina Thalbach, whom some of you might remember from her role as Chancellor Murkel in Der Minister. And lastly, we see the girls wearing their uniform for the first time. This is, of course, a callback to the UK original, where wearing school uniforms is practically a trademark, but here in Germany, not really. At least not that I'm aware of. After lunch, we're treated to three very important scenes that will all be relevant in one way or another. The first is a scene during French class in which the twins have to confess to their teacher that, back at their old school, they had dealt with completely different material and thus are a bit behind the rest. The teacher's solution? Give the two girls some extra lessons, of course. I mean, it does make sense. The second scene takes place during gym class, where Hanni causes a classmate to trip. This doesn't sit well with Megalein, who gives Hanni detention and puts her on laundry duty. And finally, the third scene, which takes place in botany class, I guess. The twins talk about going to the village to contact Octavia's father to get them out of Lindenhof. They have to go to the village because student cell phones get confiscated by Megalein immediately upon arrival. Also, Suse talks about a boy from the village she likes, and Megalein informs Theobald about the school's money issues. So, what's the headmistress's reply to all this? She'll think of something because, you know, Lindenhof has always somehow managed to survive. I'm serious. That's her suggestion. Just sit around and wait for something to come by eventually. So then, we get into the twins' big scheme. And the scheme goes like this. While Hanni is on laundry duty, Nanni goes to the village to call Octavia's dad and get them back home as soon as possible. However, on her way to the laundry room, Hanni is surprised by Berthoud, who whisks her away for some extra French lessons that she promised them earlier. Hence, Hanni herself has to pretend to be her sister as well as do her duty in the laundry room. Against all odds, their scheme seems to work. That is, until the class rep, whom they used for it, grows a conscience and tells on them. And not just that, she also has some choice words to say to her leads and basically scolds them for not wanting to be part of the school's team. And yeah, considering what they just pulled and the fact that they used Linda to do it, yeah, they pretty much deserve being scolded at. The following night, their classmates decide to do tarot in the middle of a field, as preteen girls are wanting to do. During this, we learn that Katrin has a horse, and through further exposition, that this horse is all she has left after her parents died. Yet, a small dispute ensues when Jenny, played by Zoe Turau, basically says since the twins don't feel like they belong to Lindenhof, which they still don't, then they don't need to play on the Lindenhof team, which Hanni immediately counters by promising to make Lindenhof great again. Make Lindenhof win a game again. And this promise is sorely needed, as in the next scene, we see Lindenhof square off against another school and get their asses handed to them. This is mostly due to Hanni's unfair gameplay, as she never passes the ball and relies on her skills we saw in the opening scene. But, of course, as you would expect, this kind of sportsmanship doesn't go over quite well with Jenny, who then starts a catfight. Nanni comes in to break everything up, yet Hanni does have a chance to redeem herself if she wins a mattress race down the main stairs. And quite honestly, that sounds pretty awesome. Kind of like Jackass meets VokVM. What's VokVM, you ask? Well, this we're gonna have to find out in a later episode. But, as usual, the girls get caught by Frau Megalein and sent directly to the headmistress's office. There, Hanni takes the blame for everything that happened. Being the understanding rather than the strict one, Theobald lets Hanni and the girls get off comparatively easy with kitchen duty for Hanni and being grounded for a week for all of them. What follows is a montage where Hanni trains the hockey team and brings them up to speed, and Nanni practices cello for the upcoming audition, a poster for which she saw on her first day at Lindenhof. Now, I do kind of realize that we're not supposed to like the stuck-up and strict gym teacher, but sorry, but she has a point. Better doing this than you guys ending up broke and unemployed. At kitchen duty, Hanni is accompanied by her sister and a few classmates, among them Suze, who starts talking about how hot and dreamy and sexy and just all around awesome the boy from the village is, despite the fact that she's never actually talked to him. Which, of course, forces one of the girls to ask the obvious question. What happens when Suze actually meets this guy and he opens his mouth and it then turns out that he's a brain-dead cuck? Later that evening, the twins are having some sort of argument over their differing tastes and hobbies when Katrin passes them by with a letter in her hand and tears in her eyes. Naturally, Hanni and Nanni follow her, and their way leads them to the stable where Katrin's horse is kept. It turns out, Katrin received a letter telling her that her horse is to be taken away due to money issues. And, as I've already mentioned, the horse is pretty much all that Katrin has left. This situation causes the twins to take immediate action and bring the horse inside the school. Of course, This plan fails upon arrival, and the three get caught when the horse sneaks up on the French teacher. As always, Headmistress Theobald is upset, but still understanding of the situation. Hence, she tells Hanni and Nanni to take the horse to a garden shed before tending to her books and money issues again. Back in the big city, the parents are back in the same department store from the beginning of the movie, where the father makes a landmark discovery. The store is actually equipped with security cameras. No shit, Sherlock! Who would have thought that a department store has fucking security cameras? With the security cameras recording, George now has proof that Hanni didn't steal the piece of clothes, and, with the evidence, heads straight back to the school and confronts the principal, and, due to the proven innocence of their girls, Eula and George go back to Lindenhof to pick them up. However, it turns out that only Hanni wants to go back to her former school. Nanni has since taken a liking to playing cello and wants to stay. This, unfortunately, presents an array of problems. You see, Lindenhof is due to play the Joe Cats, Hanni's former team, which essentially means that Nanni, for one, not only has to pose as her sister and play for Lindenhof, she's in the awkward position of actually having to play against her sister. The story takes a somewhat predictable turn on the Joe Cats team bus when it is revealed to Hanni that Octavia was the one who put the clothes into Hanni's bag. This immediately prompts Hanni to get out of the bus together with George, and the two go back to Lindenhof. Meanwhile, at the boarding school, the match has begun, and yeah, Lindenhof is pretty much fucked right from the get-go. However, there is light in the dark, because while the game is taking place, Susan's in the village to buy some things when she runs into the boy named Mark, played by Kevin Janota. And guess what? He actually is a brain-dead cuck. It's now halftime, and Hanni and George finally make it to Lindenhof. Hanni takes the part of Nanni, and while Hanni is out there scoring goals, Nanni finally gets a chance to partake in the audition. Now, considering what kind of movie this is, of course, in the end, pretty much everything works fine. Now, considering the kind of movie this is, you can pretty much imagine that, in the end, everything works out fine. Lindenhof finally wins a game after a long while of losing, and Nanni finally gets the part as cellist in the orchestra. But there is still one issue that is yet to be resolved. An issue that Megaline talks to Theobald again, the issue of money. Thankfully, the girls have a plan to resolve this by writing to all the alumni students and ask them to donate money to the school. And, yeah, as predicted, the plan works. The school is saved, and we're all looking forward to part 2. Yes, there are at least 2 more sequels in this franchise. So this was Hanni und Nanni, the live-action pan-cultural adaptation of Enyd Blighton's St. Clair's. Was it good? Was it bad? Well, I can tell you this much. It's a shit ton better than what we had to look at last time. But let's look at the good stuff first. First and foremost, Heino Ferch. As surprised as I was seeing him in this movie, I really love his performance and the strangeness of the role he chose to play. Seriously, I gotta IMDb this guy and find out what he did before 2000. Then of course I like all the references and callbacks to the original UK version. They're so subtle to the point where even someone who has never read the books or watched the anime, but only did some research for a crummy review, actually gets them. Thirdly, I love the upbeat, uplifting music in both the beginning as well as the mattress race scene. And while I may not listen to it myself outside of watching this movie, it serves the film quite well. And lastly, I like the dichotomy between the strict and rigorous character of Megaline and the calm, reasonable understanding of the headmistress, and the acting of our two leads was also nothing worth complaining about. Yeah, about complaining. Yeah, there was actually some stuff that I actually do have issues with. What were they? Oh yeah, Oliver Pocher. No, seriously, what does him playing the mall cop add to this fucking story? This part could have been played by Kessler, or Herbst, or Mittermeier, and it wouldn't have made a fucking difference. Oh no, wait, it would. You know why? Those people are actually funny. But getting back to the actual subject matter here, another gripe I actually had with this film is that for the first half of it, I couldn't tell our two leads apart. Like, at all. Or maybe that was supposed to be the intent behind it. All I can say is that watching it for the first time, it was very confusing. But going in, I have to say it wasn't nearly as horrendous as I imagined it to be, despite the pink girly box art. Quite the contrary, I recommend it. Go see it. So this was Das German Kritic, and in the next episode, comic books. Oh, I'm sorry, graphic novel. Fuck you.